Hey guys, welcome back to another F1 2020 video. Today we're going to be taking the racing point around the Hungary ring, and you know what, I'm excited because this is going to be the first time I try out wet weather driving on the F1 2020 game, and I'll give you my honest feedback, what it feels like. I'll try to describe it as best as I can, and let's see what's new in the F1 2020 game when it comes to wet weather driving. So the first thing you're going to notice is that Tiro Limitless is there in the corner, thinking about extra rotation. But let's get on with the driving, going through the final corner of the Hungary ring. The whole track has been reprofiled. The whole track is remodeled. It's a whole lot flatter and smoother through majority of the areas of the circuits. You can attack the curbs a whole lot more because of the way that the car interacts with all the curbs at pretty much all the circuits now. You can attack the curbs a whole lot more in low speed corners at every circuit that I've driven so far, so this is no exemption. My overall feeling with the wet weather car so far is that it feels a lot more like a dry car, but it feels a whole lot more understeery, so it feels like you can brake more similar in a way to the way you do in the dry. It feels like you can turn more like you do in the dry, but it's a lot more understeery, and I think that you can increase the aerodynamics a whole bunch more to compensate for that. So I guess it's more realistic in that regard. More aerodynamics would solve majority of the issues I feel that I'm experiencing with driving in the wet weather at the moment, and that it's just a whole bunch more understeery. Like, that is the main characteristic now. Obviously, you had understeer in the previous generation of the games, but you feel a whole lot more in control of the car at the moment. The force feedback is a whole lot better in this game to control the car in the wet. It's going to help out a whole bunch more people when they're first starting to learn to drive the car in F1 2020. And also for league races, it's going to be a lot more satisfying and easier. I guess more realistic in a way, if that's what is said by F1 drivers, to drive this car in the wet, and I'm all for that. So it is an improvement from the previous game, and I think that's something that we can look forward to when we finally get to play this new game when it comes out. Now, something interesting I've discovered, I'll wait until we come up to a crowded hill. Actually, I'll just edit it. So basically, as you can see, the crowd is dynamic, as in the way it changes to people holding umbrellas when there is rain. Now, the interesting thing is, if it is a race, right, and you're going from a dry race to a wet race, or a wet race to a dry race, the interesting thing to see here is that the crowd will probably switch from umbrellas to like obviously taking the umbrellas away. Now, this is realistic to real life, obviously, the crowd changing when the weather changes, but F1 drivers have talked a lot in the past about when they see crowds put ponchos on, when they put umbrellas up, they use that kind of as an indicator when they go into a turn as to how much grip they're going to have, how close it is to getting onto intermediate tires or wet tires. Now, it'll be interesting to see exactly when the changeover point is, when the crowd switches to umbrellas when it goes from dry to wet. And that may be an indicator of when to switch on to intermediate tires or to dry tires if you go from wet to dry or dry to wet. I just thought that was a really interesting touch from Codemasters, and I think that's a really cool addition to the game. I also think that if they've integrated this, then we should stay tuned, because who knows what other additions they've made and how far they go with this kind of weather system that they've added to the game, with different things changing depending on the weather. So definitely something to look out for. And yeah, continuing on with how the car feels when driving in the rain, you get a whole bunch more traction coming out of the corner compared to F1 2019, and it just feels a whole lot more satisfying. That paired with having such a smoother track, it feels a lot easier to drive overall. And if you notice, curbs like this one going through this left-hander, it's a lot easier to take this as well. The car doesn't get as unsettled. Having higher ride height also helps if you do manage to unsettle the car, so there's always a way around it if you do find an unbalanced car. This corner in particular, that curbing there is a lot easier to take, especially through the left part of that chicane. You can absolutely throw it through there, and it's a lot easier to manage with the curbing. So that's also another interesting little detail that they've changed. So it's more satisfying to drive. That's just the overall feeling I get from the game. It's not as easy to make mistakes or as intense mistakes as F1 2019, and it will make it a lot easier for new people to pick up the game and start playing. As you can see, that pit lane entry has also been reprofiled, so it looks closer to what it does in real life. And yeah, so overall, track feels smoother, more satisfying to drive, and we'll move on to just a dry track now and see what the game looks like at the Hungary ring in the dry. So currently my fastest time in the dry is a 1:14. I think easily 1:13 is possible, probably even quicker than that. I haven't really put that much time into the Hungary circuit so far, so we'll see the times topple here a whole lot more than the other circuits I think so far that I've driven. That outside curb is a lot easier to take as well, so if you run wide you can use that exit curb for traction as well. Braking is a fair bit later, I'd say, because of the aerodynamic ability of the new cars in this new generation has better aerodynamic performance, so I think it's just that the braking is going to be better from the cars improving over time as well. This corner I've already explained, it's a lot more easier to get right, but the right hand corner here with that curb on the inside, if you touch that curb it will still spin you, so just be wary of that. This chicane's a whole lot easier to take. You can mount the left side of the curbing a whole lot more. This section's pretty much more or less the same. The force, oh my god, I almost said the force, the Racing Point is quite a good handling car from what I've gathered so far. They'll probably change the handling of each car eventually, like make improvements, adjustments, Cody's will, because this is not the complete version of the game. Obviously they're still going to make adjustments. Obviously it's a work in progress, you can see that at the top of the screen. So yeah, they will definitely make improvements to the game from this point on, but yeah, this is just a good insight as to what's to come for when the game is going to be released, so stay tuned for that. I do plan on making a giveaway, so it's going to be based on YouTube, Twitter and Instagram, so if you follow me on that you'll already go in the entry basically for the giveaway when I do announce it, but I'm just giving you a heads up. I will definitely release a giveaway video, and I'll give away 3 copies of the game when the game eventually does come out. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and that way you'll be all up to date with the YouTube channel, so whenever I upload a new video, mostly based around F1 2020, you'll also be notified of that and stay up to date. I do prefer the Racing Points livery compared to last year. I think the color scheme's a little better. I think they could go for a different sort of pink and it might look better, or a different balance of colors. I think that would also look good. But yeah, it looks overall a bit better than it did last year. Obviously, the car you're seeing now is not the actual replica of the F1 2020 Racing Point. It is the multiplayer car with the Racing Point livery over the top of it. And yeah, that's because it's a work in progress build from Codemasters. So this will all be changed to obviously the replica car of when the game is released. So stay tuned for that. And I'll once again wrap up the video with some unedited footage, so that way you can hear the audio coming from the car and the game itself. And I'll see you all in a brand new one. Thanks for watching. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe on the video if you want to help the channel out, and I'll see you all in a brand new one.